Today, I'm going to simulate what would happen if I raised a Bulbasaur in a world where Pokémon actually existed. And by the end of this video, you'll see him face off against some of the most dangerous creatures in the wild. But it all started with something much smaller than I expected. I found the egg in my backyard. It was covered in pale green spots, almost like tiny leaves were already trying to grow on the shell. It was warm, warmer than any normal egg should be. I could feel something moving inside. I brought it into my house and placed it under a heat lamp. For 3 days, nothing happened. But on the 4th morning, I heard a crack, then another. The shell started to split down the middle, and a tiny blue-green foot pushed through. He was so small, about the size of my hand. His skin was this bright teal color, and on his back was a tiny bulb no bigger than a golf ball. His eyes opened slowly, blinking at the light. And then he looked right at me. I named him Bulbasaur, because, well, that's what he was. He made this soft chirping sound, like a mix between a frog and a bird. I didn't know what to feed him yet, but I had a feeling he wasn't going to eat normal food. I tried giving him water. He drank a little. Then I remembered the bulb on his back. Maybe he needed sunlight. I carried him outside and placed him on the grass in direct sun. And that's when it happened. The bulb on his back started glowing. Not bright, just a faint green pulse. His eyes closed and he went completely still. After 10 minutes, he opened his eyes again and chirped. He looked stronger, more alert, but I didn't know what would happen next. Over the next few days, Bulbasaur became more active. He followed me around the house, his little feet tapping on the floor. He loved being outside. Every morning, I'd take him into the backyard, and he'd sit in the sun for an hour, just absorbing light. He also started eating soil. He would dig his face into the dirt and pull nutrients straight from the ground. The bulb on his back grew a little bigger each day. At night, he'd curl up next to me and fall asleep. Sometimes the bulb would glow faintly in the dark, like a night light. But he was still so small, so vulnerable, and I knew I couldn't keep him in a box forever. Especially not in a world where wild Pokémon roamed everywhere. So I built him a custom environment. I divided my garage into 3 zones. Zone 1, the sun garden. I installed grow lights and filled the area with soil, rocks, and moss. This was where he'd eat and recharge. Zone 2, the water zone. A shallow pool with a small fountain. Bulbasaur loved water. He'd sit in it for hours, letting the bulb soak. Zone 3, the training arena, an open space with targets, climbing walls, and obstacles. In a world full of wild Pokémon, he'd need to know how to defend himself. When I showed him the habitat, his eyes went wide. He ran straight to the sun garden and rolled around in the dirt, chirping like crazy. A week later, something incredible happened. I was watching him in the training zone when he sneezed. But instead of air, a small green seed shot out of his mouth and hit the wall. The seed stuck there for a second, then exploded into tiny vines that wrapped around a nearby post. I froze. He had powers. I grabbed a target dummy and placed it in front of him. Bulbasaur, do it again. He tilted his head, confused. I pointed at the dummy. He stared at it, focused, and then another seed shot out. It hit the dummy dead center and wrapped it in vines so tight the whole thing fell over. He looked at me, proud of himself. He was learning Vine Whip and Seed Bomb already. 2 weeks later, we went for a walk in the woods behind my house. Bulbasaur was walking beside me when I heard rustling in the bushes. A small purple rat jumped out, a Rattata. Its teeth were bared, and its eyes were locked on Bulbasaur. Before I could react, the Rattata charged, tackled Bulbasaur and sent him tumbling backward. Bulbasaur squeaked in pain. I yelled at the Rattata, but it didn't care. Charged again. This time, Bulbasaur was ready. He fired a seed directly at the Rattata's face. It hit hard. The Rattata stumbled, confused. Bulbasaur followed up with vines that wrapped around the Rattata's legs and slammed it into the ground. The Rattata squealed and ran off into the bushes. Bulbasaur looked at me, breathing hard. He'd just won his first real Pokémon battle, and he was only 3 weeks old. After that, I trained him every single day. We'd go to different parts of the forest looking for wild Pokémon to practice against. Pidgey, Caterpie, Weedle, Bulbasaur fought them all. He learned fast. His vine whip became stronger. His seed bomb more accurate. The bulb on his back grew to the size of a softball. His body got bigger too. More muscular. More confident. But I knew he'd eventually face something he couldn't handle. One afternoon, we were walking near a river when I heard screeching above us. I looked up and saw 5 Spearow circling overhead. They were watching us. Hunting. Bulbasaur growled. He knew this was bad. The Spearow dove. All 5 at once. Bulbasaur fired seeds, but he could only hit 2. His eyes were furious. He opened his mouth and released a cloud of purple powder. Sleep powder. The Spearow flew right into it. 3 of them fell out of the sky immediately, unconscious. The other 2 hesitated. That was their mistake. Bulbasaur's vines shot out like whips and grabbed them midair. He slammed them into the ground over and over until they stopped moving. When it was over, Bulbasaur stood there, breathing heavy. His bulb was glowing brighter than I'd ever seen. He'd just taken down 5 Pokémon at once. A month later, disaster struck. We were deep in the forest when I heard a hissing sound behind us. I turned around and saw a massive purple snake slithering toward us. An Ekans, and it was huge, at least 8 feet long. Bulbasaur turned to face it, but this time he looked scared. The Ekans was a poison type. This was a bad matchup. The Ekans lunged, fangs dripping with venom. Bulbasaur dodged and fired a razor leaf attack. The sharp leaves sliced into the Ekans' body, but it didn't slow down. It wrapped around Bulbasaur, squeezing tight. Bulbasaur screamed. Bulbasaur's eyes started to close. He was losing, but then the bulb on his back started glowing. Bright green light poured out. Thick vines erupted from the bulb and stabbed into the Ekans' body, forcing it to let go. The Ekans hissed in pain and slithered away into the bushes. Bulbasaur collapsed. I carried him home and spent the next 3 days nursing him back to health. And during those 3 days, something changed. On the 3rd night, Bulbasaur wouldn't sleep. He kept pacing back and forth, grunting, like he was in pain. The bulb on his back started glowing brighter than ever before. Then the bulb cracked open. Not breaking, blooming. Huge pink petals unfurled from the top, spreading out like a flower. His body grew. His legs thickened. His eyes sharpened. When the light finally faded, he wasn't Bulbasaur anymore. He was Ivysaur. He looked at me and growled softly. Not aggressive, just different, older, stronger. This was a huge mistake, though. 2 weeks later, we went back to the same part of the forest. Ivysaur led the way. I think he remembered exactly where the Ekans had attacked us. And sure enough, we found it. The same massive purple snake, coiled around a tree branch. It saw us and hissed. But this time, it didn't attack immediately. It was cautious. Ivysaur didn't wait. He fired a barrage of razor leaves so fast I could barely see them. The Ekans tried to dodge, but at least 10 leaves hit it directly. It fell from the tree and hit the ground hard. The Ekans tried to wrap around Ivysaur again, but Ivysaur's vines were faster. They grabbed the Ekans mid-lunge and slammed it into the ground. Over and over. The Ekans tried to bite, but Ivysaur released a cloud of poison powder directly into its face. The Ekans coughed, stumbled, and collapsed. It was poisoned, defeated. Ivysaur stood over it, breathing calmly. He'd won, and he didn't even look tired. I couldn't keep Ivysaur in the garage anymore. He was too big, too powerful. So I built him an outdoor enclosure in the woods. A massive area with trees, a pond, and open space to run. But even that wasn't enough. One morning, I heard a loud roar coming from his enclosure. I ran outside and saw Ivysaur standing at the fence, staring at something in the distance. A Nidorino. It was standing just outside the fence, pawing at the ground. It was massive, easily 4 feet tall with a huge horn on its head. Ivysaur roared back. The Nidorino charged and rammed into the fence. The steel bent but didn't break. Ivysaur didn't hesitate. He fired a solar beam straight through the fence. The blast hit the Nidorino in the chest and sent it flying backward. The Nidorino got up, furious, charged again. This time, Ivysaur hit it with another solar beam. The Nidorino didn't get up. Ivysaur turned and walked back to his pond like nothing happened. He'd just taken down a fully evolved Pokémon without breaking a sweat. 3 months later, I got a call from a ranger. A wild Charizard was burning down parts of the forest. It was massive, aggressive, and heading toward Ivysaur's territory. I ran to his enclosure and found Ivysaur already standing at the edge, staring up at the sky. And then I saw it. A huge orange dragon with wings spread wide, breathing fire into the trees. The Charizard saw Ivysaur. It roared and dove. Ivysaur fired a solar beam, but the Charizard dodged and blasted him with a flamethrower. Ivysaur screamed and rolled to the side, his flower smoking. This was bad. Fire beats grass. Ivysaur was at a massive disadvantage. The Charizard landed and charged. Ivysaur used Vine Whip to grab its legs, but the Charizard burned through the vines with another flamethrower. It slammed into Ivysaur and sent him flying into a tree. I thought it was over, but then the flower on Ivysaur's back started glowing, brighter than I'd ever seen. The petals expanded, turning deep red and blue. His body grew larger. His legs thickened into tree trunks. He was evolving, right in the middle of the fight. When the light faded, Ivysaur was gone. In his place stood Venusaur, massive, powerful, unstoppable. The Charizard hesitated, could sense the difference. Venusaur roared and fired the most powerful solar beam I'd ever seen. It was like watching a laser cannon. The beam hit the Charizard dead center and sent it crashing into the ground. The Charizard tried to get up, but Venusaur's vines erupted from the ground and wrapped around its wings, pinning it down. Venusaur fired another solar beam. This one hit the Charizard in the face. The Charizard roared in pain and went limp. Venusaur released it. The Charizard struggled to its feet, wings burned and broken, and flew away into the distance. Venusaur turned and looked at me, and for the first time in months, he walked over and lowered his head. I reached out and touched the side of his face. He rumbled softly. He'd just defeated a Charizard, one of the most powerful Pokémon in existence. I thought back to that first day, when he was just a tiny creature in an egg, helpless, fragile, and now he was this, a fully evolved apex predator, a guardian of the forest. He didn't need me anymore, but I think in some way he still wanted me around. And honestly, that was enough. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you want to see more real-life Pokémon simulations, let me know in the comments which one I should do next. And don't forget to subscribe, because trust me, the next one's going to be even crazier.